G'day, thanks for joining me. Okay, so I just wanted to have a bit of a rant about house prices in New Zealand. Let's start with 1960. Average home cost approximately $6,500. The average income in 1960, average wage was about $1.05 an hour, which meant that we were looking at around weekly pay, 40 hours a week, $42 a week, $2,184 a year. So 20% of that, if you looked at it then, 436, you'd pay that house off in 15 years. People didn't though. I know that they still did a 20-year mortgage, and it was one wage. Dad was going off to work, Mum was at home bringing the kids up. We had the typical quarter-acre section here in New Zealand. A little bit of paradise here on our quarter-acre section in New Zealand. That's pretty much how life was post-World War II. If we fast forward to 1984, the average household income then was approximately $15,000 a year, and the average family home was $52,000. 22% again of that is $3,000, which meant that you'd 17.3 years now. But people typically, again, were paying off 20-year mortgage. And I remember my mother and father, although Dad left it a bit late to buy the first house, because he was a stock agent and he lived in company houses for years. That first house, they had 3 mortgages on it then, and the interest rate was something shocking, like 19-20% here in New Zealand at that stage. But they did it. That was one wage still, and they did it. Fast forward to 2026. Okay, so the annual average salary in New Zealand is approximately 81 grand. I would hazard to guess this has come from Google search. It's a bit lower than that. How much is the average house in New Zealand? Approximately 910,000. With significant regional variations. So Auckland has an average that exceeds the average house is 1.19 million. The rest of the country, the further south you go, the cheaper it gets. So 20% of that 81k annual is 16,000. If you that 20%, if you got to pay that house off, that's 55 years. So the reality is, it's more like $2,500 a month, the average mortgage cost, not $1,300, which is what that 20% would be. Essentially, houses are now 9 times the average income. They break it down to people can borrow more, land is scarce, which is probably true, and housing is treated as an investment. So they're saying that cheap land in the 60s and houses were 2 to 3 times the income, and now land scarcity, debt capacity, investment demand, 9 to 10 times income. Quick close change, and now it's daytime. So anyhow, why did this happen? So essentially, in my mind, early 2000, John Key's government opened the gates to more immigration, which is great. Look, I'm not one for knocking immigration. You need that for growth. I understand that. I get that. I'm in the construction industry, project manager, so construction industry depends upon it. So we got masses of people come in, predominantly into Auckland. Now that's flowing down through, and the same cycles happening into Christchurch and even West Coast and down south, I understand. So, there's an influx of immigration, and building capacity can't keep up with it. And they talk about land. There's a problem with land and blah, blah, blah. Yet people have brought multiple houses and rented them out, further people who got onto that bandwagon at the right time and were making a little bit out of it because it was a tax haven here in New Zealand. You can do that. That's great. Wouldn't you pull the brakes on and let it all catch up a bit? You're just opening the floodgates again. But we can't keep up with it. because that is what's impacting things. So what I don't get is why building can't keep up with it. Like, there should be a building boom, but there's not. It's not going that gangbusters. Where's everybody going to live? The same thing again. I see it here in Rolleston in the South Island where I live. It's flat out, they're flat out building the cheaper end of the market homes, subdividing. But if you don't keep a track on that cycle, it's only affecting middle New Zealand, lower New Zealand, and it's making it harder and harder for my children, your children, everybody else to get a foot on the ladder in the future. And I just feel for my kids, I can see they'll be renting. Who's going to have the ability to save the kind of money that kids are going to need to in the future to get their first foot on the rung? When people come in and the government's made a minimum, I don't know exactly what it is, but you have to have a certain net amount to come in, which is straight away pushing the property market up because of that money coming in. I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, and if I'm naive in that. I'm just trying to put two and two together here of late and trying to get my head around why New Zealanders from the past, our standard of living is declining and disappearing. And we're allowing it. We're voting these people in. Tell me what you think. Thanks, New Zealand. Keep on rocking.